Hello everyone and welcome to the best Hindu editorial analysis brought to you by Adda247, and this is the English version. Well, my dear friends, I hope till now you would have known this for sure, that there is a separate English and Hindi version of the Hindu editorial analysis. But yes, there's one thing that I need from you, and that is to spread this particular session, spread this particular video, and spread it with all of your friends and family members so that they get to know that yes, there is a separate English version as well. And for that, my dear friends, I will request you to share this video on WhatsApp, on Facebook, and as much as you can in order to increase the awareness about this particular version. Well, now my dear friends, let's take a look at the beautiful quote that we have got here for you, and let's take a look at that one, please. Okay, so it's he who is not courageous enough to take risk will accomplish nothing in life. All right, now these are the words of Muhammad Ali. Now let's just say, my dear friends, that you come to know about any particular examination. All right. Let's just say you come to know of any particular examination, but there's only one problem, and that is there is not much time in order to prepare for that particular examination. Okay. Now, what do? Would you rather take the risk of preparing for that examination and then taking that examination, or would you rather continue your mundane life and not do anything different? So, what do you say, guys? Now, definitely, if you take the risk of taking that examination, you might end up succeeding in it. So that's why this is what the idea over here is. If you want to become something in life, if you want to achieve something in life, if you want to achieve success, then definitely, my dear friends, you will have to take calculated risk, because without calculated risk, there is no success. As they say, you know, without guts, there is no glory. So he who is not courageous enough to take risk will accomplish nothing in life. And perhaps this is the quote of the people's champion Muhammad Ali. So always remember this, and always remember to knock out the difficulties in your life. Well, now my dear friends, let's go forward and take a look at all the editorials which can be covered in today's Hindu editorial. Okay, so today's Hindu editorial articles are right here for you. The first one is Growing Forest. Now, this is regarding the increasing green cover of our nation, and what's the plan for the same, and how are we going to increase the green cover of our nation. The second article over here is Unmindful of History. Well, this is regarding the politics of Manipur and what's happening over there, and perhaps what should not happen regarding given the history of Manipur. The next one is Fortunes and Misfortunes. Now, this is again a political article, and this is, by the way, based on the fortune and misfortune of Lalu Prasad Yadav, former CM of Bihar. Then the next one is Pay Raise for Judges. As you can see over here, it talks about the financial enhancement or the rise in pay for the judges of the courts. So guys, these are the other Hindu articles that we have not covered, and perhaps you can go through all of this if you want from your own, from the Hindu app, by the way, which shall contain these articles as of now. Let's go forward and take a look at the first very interesting article that we have picked up for you. Okay, the first article is Listen to These Four Girls. Now guys, before I move forward over here, see, if you have any children in your place, you know, if you have any children around you, or perhaps if you have any younger brothers and sisters, or perhaps if you have any young friends, you know, around you, or perhaps if you yourself are in adolescent age, then perhaps this article is something that you should listen to it and you should watch for sure, because this is a very, very interesting article. Now, it always happens in our life, you know, when we get surrounded by lots of difficulties, and nobody is actually listening to us, and nobody is actually understanding to what we want to explain to them, or what we want them to understand. So how exactly do we communicate? What's the end to this miscommunication? Now, this article is somewhere all around this. Okay, so this article is something which contains all of this. Let's move forward and let's take a look at the next article, or the next slide, sorry. Now, Panapakkam is a rural town in Tamil Nadu's Vellore district. So perhaps now we're going to talk about a rural town in Tamil Nadu's Vellore district, and that town is Panapakkam. Last month, it was in the news when 4 adolescent, that's pre-adult girls, disappeared from their school, leaving their bags behind. So perhaps this particular town of Panapakkam, which is a rural town in Tamil Nadu's Vellore district, was in news last month. Now, why is that? Because 4 adolescent girls, means perhaps girls who were actually children, but they were on the verge of adulthood. So perhaps these 4 girls, they all of a sudden disappeared from their schools, leaving their bags behind. So although they disappeared, but their bags were still in school. Now let's move forward. Let's understand what happened exactly. Their shoes were later found beside a sizable or a huge well into which they had apparently jumped in order to end their lives. So perhaps we lost 3 girls over here, we lost 3 children, we lost 3 adolescent girls, and perhaps why is that we'll understand. So these girls, by the way, they took out their shoes before jumping into a huge or a seizable well, which they did actually to end their lives. Now what exactly happened that I need to understand here. They were students of class 11. Okay, so these girls were actually students of class 11. This is precisely the grade level at which a vast number of India's adolescents feel seriously unhappy and resentful or hostile. Now, this is a particular age. See, when you're in class 11th, approximately most of us around 17 or 15 to 17 years of age, and perhaps this is that age, this is that age of adolescence where what it seems, all of a sudden people get very unhappy regarding them, regarding their lives, because nobody's understanding them. They seem to think like this. Perhaps they also grow very hostile of not only everybody in the society, but also they grow hostile of their own parents, of their own brothers and sisters, If you consult a typical textbook on adolescent psychology, you will find such emotions to be common. Now, you can pick up any particular textbook given on any particular good textbook on adolescent psychology, and all of these good textbooks, they will tell you that yes, this particular thing happens, this particular psychological emotions, they go through any particular adolescent's mind around this particular age, and it's very common. The text will probably dwell on identity, self-worth, and petulance or irritability. So perhaps that particular book which you pick regarding to understand the mind of adolescents, or perhaps to understand the mind of adolescent people, will actually, focus on them having an identity crisis and feeling that they are not having their own separate identity. Perhaps they also want to understand their worth. What exactly do they mean in the society? What exactly do they mean to their parents and friends? And the next point over here is irritability. Perhaps they will also grow, they will also get petulant. In fact, they will have a feeling of petulance towards each and everything around them. So this is very common at this particular age. Now, teachers are taught about these common symptoms, and those who learn them well enough to discuss them correctly get through their B.Ed or Bachelor of Education examination without much cramming or intense study. Now, perhaps the teachers in the making, perhaps those people who pursue B.Ed, after their graduation, perhaps if they are able to understand these particular things quite easily during their discussions, they are able to get their degree of Bachelor in Education very easily. But then, something else happens. And what does it happen? When they become teachers, in reality, they soon realize that passing the B.Ed examination is a lot easier than dealing with real adolescents, boys and girls. And perhaps teachers, when they realize, when they actually go in front of a real class, and then when they start gaining real experience, practical experience, then they get to know that the textual B.Ed was quite easier compared to the practical classes that they have to deal, compared to the practical students that they have to deal. I hope, guys, that this much would have gone straight into your brain and you would have understood with me. So stay with me, you will understand more now. Now, a poor record. The Panapakkam girls are reported to have been scolded by a teacher for their poor academic performance and told them to call their parents. Now see, this is something that we seriously need to work upon. Now I, being a teacher myself, I being a member of society myself, understand this. See, no student wants to perform bad. No student wants bad marks in their, in their own report card. And in fact, I also believe in the psychology that there are no bad students, there are only bad teachers. And in fact, a teacher who actually makes study boring is perhaps equivalent to a criminal in my own eyes. Because if somebody needs to learn, a student's job is to learn. and if we are not able to do our job properly, then they will not be able to learn themselves. Now, a student might be irritated, a student might be irritated, a student might be angry, or might be sad, or might be depressed. That's understood, well understood. But if we start reacting, then what exactly are we teachers for? For example, what I understand, a teacher must be somebody who is free from all the 7 vices that are there and that pollute the mind of any particular person. And perhaps a lot of time happens is the teachers get angry at the students and and they react like that. That is the worst thing that a teacher could do to a particular student and to himself and to his own teacherhood. The reason being, see, there's always a way in which each and everything must be understood, and the teacher needs to understand the student over here, not only the subject. Just because the teacher knows the subject very well does not mean that he is a great teacher. It means, yes, he is a great scholar, but the difference between a scholar and a teacher is that a teacher is able to make more scholars, whereas a scholar remains a scholar himself. Alright, so this is something that we need to understand and we need to put in our education system. Well, right now guys, let's take a look at question number 1 that we have here, and here it comes for you. Okay, so which of the following is not true according to para 1? So we have given you 3 statements and you have to tell us that which of the following is not true according to para 1. Start giving your answers. In the meantime, I shall discuss these options. Statement A says, Panapakkam is an urban town in Tamil Nadu's Vellore district. Now, is Panapakkam an urban town or is it a rural town? What was given in the particular passage regarding the fact that it's a part of Vellore district in Tamil Nadu? Then statement B says the shoes of the students were later found beside a seizable well into which they had apparently jumped in order to end their lives. Alright, so was it a seizable well or was it a tiny or a minuscule well? What do you think, my dear friends? Then statement C says they were students of class 10th. Now, were they students of class 10th or were they students of class 11? What exactly do you remember? Well, I hope till now you would have given your answers, and now it's time to see our correct answer. Can we have the correct answer, please? It's option number 4, that is only A and C. The reason being, see, the question over here asks which of the following is not true. Panapakkam is not an urban town, it's a rural town, and statement C, which says they were students of class 10th, they were actually students of class 11. I hope that all of you would have understood the article till now and would have also answered the question correctly. Now let's move on and let's understand more about this article. Okay, the girls decided to avoid that ordeal and embrace death instead. So when the girls were told to call their parents for reviewing their poor performance, they rather decided to end their own life instead of, going through all that shaming and going through all that difficulties. Now, thereby displaying another familiar characteristic of adolescent mind, namely its preference for camaraderie or friendship in taking a decision. So perhaps, the girls rather, they were friends, the 4 girls who suicided over here, they were friends and they discussed among themselves and they found that it's better. The 4 girls found it's better that, that we end our lives instead of, getting ashamed in front of our own parents. So perhaps at this particular age, in this adolescence, you find it better, to listen to a friend than to listen to to your parent or somebody else. The reason being that you and your friend are perhaps in the same mental age and having similar thoughts, and it's pretty common that we tend to be friends with those who have similar thoughts with us. So that's the reason, at this particular age of adolescence, people tend to listen to their friends more than anybody else, and perhaps this friendship over here proved extremely fatal for these 4 girls because all of them decided to end their lives, and that is exactly what they did. As a nation, our record of dealing with adolescence is rather poor. Yes, I absolutely agree. As our nation, we can see a lot of adolescents are ending their lives and, or committing crimes and, starting becoming criminals, and a lot of bad stuff is happening regarding to adolescent people because we are not able to handle them, and not it's completely their fault. Well, to be an adolescent means that you don't feel comfortable with what all is going all around you. But older people don't find it easy to deal with you. Now see, there are 2 aspects of adolescence over here. On one hand, the person who is adolescent, whether it's a boy or whether it's a girl, that particular person is not able to deal with what's around him or her, because that person feels that, everything is in wrong order and it should not be in this order, and I need to put this together, or whatever it is, it's not the way it should be. On the other aspect, on the other hand, the actual older people, they are in another dilemma, because they are not able to understand how to deal with this particular person, although he or she is my own kid, or perhaps he or she belongs to my own younger generation. But what exactly is going in this particular person's mind, and how do I deal with this person, because he has gone absolutely insane. For the older people, they find this. Then let's understand more. This is partly because adolescent behavior is often prickly and difficult and petulant and moody. Now, perhaps for the older people, why is it difficult for them to understand? Because adolescence, is something that makes you extremely prickly, or rather difficult to understand, and it also makes you very moody, because you do not go into the roots of the problem, rather you just react. Now, there's also a problem. Now, this is something that the adolescent needs to understand over here. Instead of reacting, you need to proact, instead of reacting to everybody who's coming around you. For example, if somebody asks them what's wrong with you, and they get angry at this, and they react and with rather harsh words. So, this is something that they should understand. They should understand what's their actual problem, and they should try and communicate that actual problem instead of reacting over here. So, this is how things are going to calm down. This is how things are actually solved. Now, let's understand more. The larger reason, however, is that adolescents live in an ideal world and measure everyone, including parents and teachers, by their utopia or grandiose standards. So, perhaps another very big issue over here is that adolescence, adolescence makes people, live in a utopian world, because since they do not have any much knowledge of the practical world, so what they do is they create a different separate utopia in their own brain, and perhaps they feel that, see, this is how the world should be like this, and everybody should behave like this in this particular way. And when in fact they want their parents, they want their friends, they want their teachers, they want their siblings to behave in that particular way, and when that actually does not happen in the real world, it definitely disappoints and makes them sad a lot. Now, let's understand more over here. Well, see, this is not merely an emotional response to an imperfect world, it is also a proof of their fully developed logical capacity. So, then, it's not as if they are not, it's not as if the people have gone insane, or the adolescents are crazy and that's why they are thinking like this. See, there are two aspects over here. First of all, in this way, they start building emotional attachments, their emotional attachments get improved because to their parents and their teachers and their siblings. And another point over here is, since they are able to figure out what the world should be like, they are also able to enhance their logical capacity, and perhaps they also start to develop logical thinking, which is extremely important in real life. Now, by defying the adults surrounding them, adolescents develop their own identity as individuals. Now, this is something that also gets to their brain, that if they defy order. Now, with this, I think I recall a particular step over here, that, rebels. All of a sudden, adolescents feel that, rebels are better, and a rebel is always loved. So, this is perhaps the idea behind their own actions of rebellion at various points, and perhaps that's why they feel that the more they rebel against the adults in their own home, against the adults in their society, the more identity are they going to acquire as an individual. Now, this is not easy. So, they depend on their peers to plan and decide. And in fact, defying adults is also not very easy for these adolescents. So, what do? They depend on their peers to plan and to decide at how exactly are they going to defy their adults. Now, their private fantasies are mostly benign or kindly and transformative. So, perhaps the mental fantasies and perhaps the utopian brain, in fact, the utopian world that they develop in their own brain, perhaps it's actually very kindly, it's very benign and also very transformative, and perhaps if they're able to implement that, then it can actually transform our society and transform our country as well. We can say that adolescent dreams represent a nation's wealth, and in fact, whatever, if you just talk about the great minds of our world, whether it was Bill Gates, whether it was Mark Zuckerberg, whether it was Sachin Tendulkar, any particular great, and what they dreamt at their adolescence, in their adolescence, was what they achieved in real life, and exactly that is what that made our world a better place, and that's what made our society a better place. So that is where the dreams of adolescents are what that change the society, and perhaps that's what it can make or break our world in a better way. Now, so I hope guys you got the concept over here, you got the main idea behind this particular article. It's a very in-depth idea. I hope you were able to understand this, and you shall be able to deal with adolescents better after understanding this article. Now let's take a look at question number 2 that we have here, and here it comes. Okay, so which of the following is true according to para? Now, statement A over here says the girls decided to accept the ordeal and embrace death instead. So this is statement A over here. Do you think it was accept the ordeal or was it avoid the ordeal? What is your opinion on this particular statement? Then statement B over here says, as a nation, our record of dealing with adolescents is rather poor. So perhaps what do you feel guys? Is this the correct answer over here? Is this the correct statement over here? Or was it something different? Or was it that our record dealing with adolescents is rather nice? What should be here? Then statement C says, this is partly because adolescent behavior is often prickly and petulant. Now, was it partly or was it completely that adolescent behavior is quite often prickly and also petulant? Well guys, I think till now you would have answered the question from your own. Now let's take a look at the correct answer from that we have here for you. Well, it's option number 4, only C and B. The reason being, we over here are asking which of the following is true. Now statement A is not true because the girls decided to not accept, rather they decided to avoid the ordeal, perhaps the ordeal of facing their parents and getting ashamed in front of their parents, and rather they embraced that instead. Statement B and statement C is something that that you need to understand more. Statement B over here says, as a nation, our record of dealing with adolescents is rather poor. That's there in statement B. In statement C, it says, this is partly because adolescent behavior is often prickly and also petulant. That's the statement over here. Well, it's option C and option B. That's the correct answer. Perhaps option number 4 is what you would have chosen for sure. So, that's the first article. I hope you got it and I hope you answered both the questions correctly. Now let's get excited and let's get ready for another very fine article, which is actually a financial article, and that's something that you might be really very excited about. So let's take a look at the next article here. Okay, the next one over here is testing times. Now see, as you can see, a lot of banks are, logos of lots of banks over here. So this is something regarding banks. This is something regarding the NPAs that our banks are having. Well, let's take a look at the article now. Okay, the central government has been working hard to address India's twin balance sheet problem, but it hasn't had much to show in the form of results. So definitely the government that we have, the central government that we have, is worried and is it's trying to work a lot and is working very hard to address the India's twin balance sheet problem, twin balance sheet issue. But as far as results are concerned, it has not been able to show much of it. Well, the financial stability report released by the Reserve Bank of India, for one, suggests that India is still far away from solving the troubles ailing its banks and large business corporations. Well, there was a report from the RBI, it's called the Financial Stability Report, the FSR, and the FSR of the RBI very clearly states that, India is very far. India is very far from solving the troubles that's actually, that has got to its bank. And in fact, India is very far and very away from solving all those issues which are actually causing problems to the banks of our nation. And not only them, and to also the large business corporations that we have in our nation. According to the report released last week, gross non-performing assets, that's NPAs, in the banking system as a whole rose to 10.2% at the end of September from 9.6% at the end of March. So perhaps, the NPA, which was actually 9.6% at the end of March in 2017, grew to 10.2% at the end of September the same year. So this is something that's really a matter of concern, and we need to arrest it and we need to check this really quickly. Well, I hope guys that this much would have gone straight to your brain. Now let's understand more about this. This, according to a research report released by the CARE, that's CARE Ratings, puts India fifth among significant economies with the most NPAs. So according to this particular financial report, or perhaps according to this percentage, India is now fifth among the significant economies with the most NPAs, and that is according to CARE ratings. Well, the RBI stated further that it expects NPAs to continue to rise to as high as 11.1% of total outstanding loans by September 2018. Now, this figure, which is already at 10.2% at the end of September, is supposed to go further up and go and stop at 11.1% at the total outstanding loans by September 2018, and this is what the RBI feels about the same. Now, the bad loan problem has also not spared private sector banks. So, if you were thinking that, the bad loans issue or the NPA issue is just limited to the public sector banks, it's not like that. This particular issue, the NPA issue, the bad loan issue, has also hit the private sector banks. These lenders have seen their own asset quality deteriorate at a faster pace than public sector banks. So, the asset quality of private banks, they have deteriorated, or they have gone bad at a faster pace, at a faster rate than public sector banks. Now, why is that? Because private bank NPAs increased by almost 41% as compared to 17% in the case of public sector banks at the end of September. So perhaps if you wanted to know that how come 9.6% at the end of March became 10.2% at the end of September, well, this is a very key factor over here. The private bank NPAs increased by almost 41%. That's really huge and a big number as compared to 17% in the case of public sector banks at the end of September. So all is definitely not well when it comes to the banks of our nation. Now let's take a look at the Parajumble that we have got here for you, and here it comes. So statement A over here says, but it hasn't had much to show in the form of results. The financial stability report, that's in statement A. You have got A, B, C, D, E, F. That's the sixth sentence. I'm going to give you 90 seconds in total. First of all, I shall give you 30 seconds to find the independent statement. So my dear friends, find the independent statement. You got 30 seconds and your time starts now. Hurry up. "20 seconds more. Come on, people, find it." Last 10 seconds. Hurry up. Find the first statement. Come on. Now, my dear friends, I want you to find the logical pairs. Just see, which statement can come after which statement. What can be the logical pairs in this Parajumble? And you get 30 seconds for that. So 30 seconds, find the logical pairs. Hurry up. I hope, come on guys, you are finding logical pairs. You got 20 seconds more. Come on, find quickly. Last 10 seconds to find logical pairs. Hurry up, guys. Okay, now find the final arrangement. What's the final arrangement? Come on, people. Find the final arrangement. You got 30 seconds for that. Hurry up. "20 seconds left, guys. Come on, hurry up. Final arrangement. Last 10 seconds. Hurry up, people. Find the final arrangement. Come on, you can do it. Time's up. Now let's see the next slide and let's see what's the correct order of this Parajumble. Okay, so here's the next slide for you. Well, the correct order is F, A, E, B, D, C. Match the order well. It's F, A, E, B, D, C. All right, now let's understand over here why exactly is this the order. Well, the first statement is statement F because it introduces the whole scenario over here. The central government has been working hard to address India's twin balance sheet problem. Now, why is that? We need some more information over here than what happened. Well, that's given in statement A, sheet problem, but it hasn't had much to show in the form of results. The financial stability report. Now, what does the financial stability report show? That is given in statement E. The financial stability report released by the Reserve Bank of India for one suggests that India is still far away from what? That's given in statement B, far away from solving the troubles ailing its banks and large business corporations. Now, why is that? That's given in statement D. From solving the troubles ailing its banks and large business corporations, according to the report released last week, gross non-performing assets, that's NPAs, what's happening about that? That's given in statement C. In the banking system as a whole rose to 10.2% at the end of September from 9.6% at the end of March. So I hope, guys, that you were able to get this Parajumble correctly for sure. And let's keep trying, because for that, if you just keep trying and keep trying and keep trying, then definitely you will succeed. Now, guys, let's take a look at the next part of this very interesting article, and here comes the next slide. Okay, non-banking financial companies that compete against banks also saw a jump in NPAs. So there were a lot of non-banking financial companies as well, and these compete against banks, by the way, and they also saw a jump in NPAs. Now, why is that? There are, however, some signs of hope as credit growth has begun, to turn the corner and shown faster growth on a year-on-year basis when compared to March. So perhaps the non-banking financial companies, they have also an NPA growth, in fact, the NPA also jumped up, but there's also a positive factor over here, and that is, some signs of hope as credit growth has begun to turn the corner and shown faster growth on a year-on-year basis when compared to March. So yes, credit growth is also happening, so perhaps all is not wrong as well. So yeah, definitely we are losing a few battles, but we shall win the war, and that's why, credit growth is also coming back. Now, reforms undertaken until now, though, may not be good enough to tackle the problem. Although a lot of reforms have also taken place, and a lot of reforms, and also, they have also been accepted till now. But all of them, or most of them, have not yielded the results they were supposed to yield, but definitely they might work in the longer term. The resolution of bankruptcy cases, particularly against large borrowers that contribute a major share of bank NPAs under the new insolvency and bankruptcy code, should help bring the NPA situation under some control. So a new code, and that's actually an insolvency and bankruptcy code, which has been introduced, and this has been introduced for the large borrowers who actually are in the eye of the storm, because of which this particular NPA issue exists for the bankers. So perhaps this kind of new code, which actually targets these large borrowers, it might help in solving this problem to some extent. In fact, despite its many imperfections and the slow pace of resolutions by the National Company Law Tribunal, the code can help. The code can be helpful in cleaning up bank books in future credit cycles. So definitely, although it's not a very it's not a very fast project, but definitely it's not a very fast way to solve the issues. But the National Company Law Tribunal, whatever steps they are taking, it is definitely going to help in resolving this particular issue. The recapitalization of public sector banks too can help increase the capital cushions of banks and induce them to lend more and boost economic activity. Well, the recapitalization of public sector banks, which happened after the demonetization, this can also help them increase the capital cushion of banks, and it can also include, it can also provide to them the ability to lend more and to boost economic activity. So I hope, guys, that this much would have gone straight to your brain. It was not tough, and whatever toughness was there was already made easy by us through this particular article discussion. And I hope that now you are ready to face our next question, which is the suitable theme. So let's go towards question number 4 for you. What exactly is the theme of the paragraph? You have got 5 options over here. Statement 1 or option number 1 is the NPA happiness of banks. So do you think that the banks are really happy about the NPAs that they have? Non-performing assets are a happy asset of the banks. What do you say about that? Statement 2 or option number 2 says over here, the NPAs of PSBs versus private banks. What's the main focus or what's the main theme over here? The NPA of public sector banks versus the NPAs of private sector banks. What do you feel about that? Then option number 3 over here is the increase of NPAs. Now, was this particular article or was this particular passage focusing on the constantly increasing NPAs of our nation? Then statement number 4 says, was this the big players increasing NPAs? Now tell me guys, was this article focusing on the big players like Vijay Mallya, because of whom the NPAs of our bank have increased? Then option number 5 is the new insolvency and the bankruptcy code. All was the focus of this paragraph over here on the new insolvency and bankruptcy code? Well, I hope till now you would have chosen your answer for sure. Now let's see the correct answer which is there for this particular question. It's option number 3, the increase of NPA. So all that we saw around this article regarding that percentage that was given regarding March and September, regarding that care report that was given regarding the various recapitalization that was given, all the focus was actually on the increase of NPAs, and that is why, my dear friends, option number 3, the increase of NPAs is the correct answer over here. Now guys, I hope that you are ready as well for the next section of the quiz, and that is, by the way, something that you must be waiting for. Can we have the next section, please? It's the vocab quiz. So guys, are you all ready for the vocab quiz? I suppose you're saying yes. Let's take a look at question number 5. Okay, so now you have to give us a suitable synonym for the word sizable, and your time starts now. You can start giving the synonyms over here. In the meantime, I shall discuss these options. See, insignificant means something that has no, importance at all, no significance at all. On the other hand, teeny means, very small in size. Unimportant is pretty much like insignificant as well, because that also means having no importance at all. Then massive is something that's very big in size, very large in size. Now, if you know the meaning of sizable, that actually is, big in size, that we also discussed during the discussion of our paragraphs. So perhaps till now you would have chosen your answer. Now let's see what's our answer over here. It's option number 4, massive. Now, since you had to give a synonym of sizable, I told you the meaning. Option number 4 is the correct synonym for this particular word. Now, let's move on. Let's see question number 6. Next one, please. Okay, so question number 6 is right here for you. So, what's the correct antonym for the word prickly from the given options, which are complicated, tough, pleasant, and brambly? Okay, well, see, complicated means something that's really very tough, or very hard to understand, very puzzling. That's what the meaning of complicated is. Then tough, you can understand it's very tough, not very easy. Then pleasant is something that makes you feel good, makes you, feel nice about something. Then brambly is, again, as you can understand, it's very complicated, it's very tough. Now see, prickly over here is something that can be said to be a synonym of complicated, because it is also quite puzzling and quite tough to understand. Till now, I think you would have given your answers. Now let's see what is our answer to this particular question. It's option number 3, pleasant. Now you had to give an antonym to the word prickly, which is puzzling. So obvious that option number 3, pleasant, is the correct answer for this particular word as the antonym. Now let's move forward and let's see the penultimate question given in question number 7. Okay, so what's the correct synonym over here? What do you think, my dear friends? What's the synonym of petulance from these options, which are bitterness, pleasantness, harmony, and amiability? Well, my dear friends, your time starts now. You can start answering the question. In the meantime, I shall discuss with you. Now see, bitterness, it actually means being bitter, not feeling good or not saying good things about anything, or not feeling good, saying bitter things, saying bitter words, criticizing something, Then pleasantness is perhaps feeling nice about something, and and feeling pleasant about something, feeling nice about something. Then harmony is perhaps it's kind of prosperity that exists, because of the pleasantness that you experience, the niceness which you get. Then amiability is perhaps the happiness or agreeability on various facts and various factors. Till now, I suppose you would have given your answers. Now let's see what is our answer over here. It's option number 1, bitterness. Now see, petulance also means, irritability or feeling bitter about something, and that is why its synonym had to be option number 1, bitterness, which is the correct answer. Now let's see what's the last question that we have here for you. Let's go forward to question number 8. The next one, please. Yes, thank you. Now, utopian. So guys, utopian is a word of which antonym you have to find over here. There are various options: abstract, fanciful, real, and lofty. So what do you think, guys? What's the correct antonym over here? Well, see, abstract means something that is not real at all, something that's just in your mind, it's just in your heart, mind, but it's not real. That's what abstract is about. Then fanciful is once again, what's there in just a fantasy, not the real world, not a practical world. Then lofty is something that's very huge, perhaps. It also, it also refers to something that is not real as well. Then real is real, absolutely real, practical. Well, guys, now I hope you would have given your answers. Let's see what's our answer over here. Can we have that, please? It's option number 3, real. So the correct antonym for the word utopian over here is option number 3, real, and I hope that you would have marked the same. So guys, that was all from this particular best Hindu editorial analysis in English that we had here. First of all, we motivated you with the beautiful quote. Then we gave you a review of all the Hindu editorial articles that got printed in today's article, in today's The Hindu. Then we focused on 2 of the most important articles, one of which was regarding, regarding adolescence, regarding education, and another one of which was actually regarding the NPAs. Then we also answered the questions of comprehension. We also answered the question of a parajumble, and we also learned how to solve a parajumble over here. We also learned lots of new words, and we also solved the quiz and solved the questions of vocab quiz. So perhaps I hope that this complete package would have made you love the video. If you actually loved the video, you can definitely like the video. You can also comment how did you feel about the video and what more can we improve, and definitely share this video with all the aspirants of UPSC, IBPS, SSC and CLAT, because this is for all of you who are preparing for these examinations. And always remember that with us, with Adda247, government job will always be there in your pocket. Thank you.